Hey everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the book cover telephone challenge. I saw this challenge when it first came out. It was created by Elizabeth over at Reading Riley. I love Elizabeth, her channel is fantastic, but a lot of people have started to do this challenge and I'm really excited to do it myself. Nobody tagged me as far as I know. I don't think anybody did, but the person that I last saw do it was Noella at Noelle 7 Pages, so I decided to start with her last book that she ended up with since I physically own it. So this is editing Deja here, 2 videos in a row because she keeps messing up, but I actually was tagged the day after I filmed this video. I filmed this video almost like 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I was tagged by Jan, obviously, and Jan actually started with the book that Noelle ended off with, and I did the same thing in here, and I want to do all physically owned books, which I talk about at the end, but the book that Jan ended off on, I do not physically own. So Jan and I are starting with the same book, which is the book that Noelle ended on. So I feel like it still all works out because Jan and I still had the first book in common. Anyways, that's all I came here to say, is that Jan did tag me the day after I filmed this video, and yes, I'm posting it 2 to 3 weeks late, but that's none of your business. All of the books that I have for this telephone challenge are ones that I physically owned, and I try to do a combination of books on my TBR, books that I've already read. So there's 10 books, 9 pairings, and I'm just going to get into it so we can make this a quick, short, sweet video. So the book that Noelle started off with is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. My book looks a little weird because this is actually an ARC copy that I got from a used bookstore, I believe, and this is one of my favorite books of, I believe, 2020. In this book, it follows Linus, who works for this company that takes care of magical children and is kind of like their foster care system, and he kind of lives this really boring, mundane life, but he's happy with it. He is very content with him and just his cat, and then he gets placed onto this case that is basically this foster home for the most dangerous children ever, and literally one of them is called Lucy, and he's literally used Lucifer as a child. There he meets all the children, obviously, and he also meets the caretaker of the children who runs this foster home. His name is Arthur. Arthur and the kids kind of show Linus a different way of life. It dives into a lot of different themes, and this is just one of my favorite books. It really made me cry, emotional, and I think it's just something that TJ Klune has in his writing. It's like crack to me because Wolfsong literally made me sob last year, and it was probably my favorite book of last year, and this cover is absolutely stunning. I just love the pink and the blue for the sky, and the cliff, and the art style is just beautiful. I just love it, and the details of like what everything looks like is just so amazing. I just love this cover so much. So from this cover, I decided to take the elements of the like color scheme, so like the pink and the blue and even some of this yellow down here, and it matches with Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The yellow is a little bit brighter, but basically these covers match pretty well. Maybe this one's a little bit more saturated, I think, but like the tone of the colors is very, very similar, like in the blue, in the pink, in the yellow. They're very, very similar. Malibu Rising is on my TBR, and maybe I'll read it this summer, but I'm kind of scared to read this book. I got it when it first came out from Book of the Month, obviously. I just know this book takes place in the 80s, and we follow these siblings that are throwing some sort of party that they throw every summer, and we follow that in this book. And I love 80s vibes, so that is one reason why I might want to pick this up soon, because I feel like the 80s, like summer, is just like what I want summer to be. I literally was born like 20 years after this book takes place, so I have no idea about the 80s, but the idea of the 80s that they put in pop culture and media is so like romanticized to me, and I want to keep it that way. If the 80s was just like super normal and regular, don't tell me, because to me the 80s was a magical time in history, and I just want to keep it in my head like that. And so from this cover, I'm taking the elements of like a big body of water. We do see a little bit of like waves and stuff over here, but it's pretty just like clear ocean. But because it's like an overshot view of the water, I decided to go with The Night Swim by Goldin. Y'all can both see they're both like overhead views of the ocean. This one's more like the middle of the water, while this one is like the coast. But you know what? I think it matches pretty good. So The Night Swim is a thriller that I read, I believe, last year, and I really, really liked it. This follows Rachel, who has a true crime podcast that really blew up, and for her new season of this podcast, she is going to this small town to basically cover this legal case that's going on. And this case is basically like the town's golden boy, who's really going to put this town on the map because he's about to become like an Olympic swimmer, is getting prosecuted for sexually assaulting this other girl in the town. And there's also a connection to another kind of missing case from years prior, like 20-30 years prior, and I just love legal thrillers. This is one of the things that made me realize that I really love legal thrillers. They're just so fun. And another thing that really made me realize this is the show O.J. Simpson versus the People. That show is entirely in the courtroom, and I loved it so much. And this book was just really interesting in how connected everything, like the past and the present, and the twist I didn't expect at all. And I just loved seeing the courtroom elements, and also like this small town, because I haven't really ever grown up in a small town where everybody knows everybody, so seeing that dynamic in books is really fascinating to me. So from this book, I'm taking the element of just seeing half of a woman's face kind of like shrouded in darkness, and for that I'm going to go with Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. You can see that both these women only are showing like half their faces. This is another thriller, and I've not read this one. Again, Jennifer Hillier is an author that I read last year for the first time. I read Jar of Hearts, and recently Jar of Hearts has been getting a lot of people not liking it, but I really like it. I know that Kayla from Books and Lala didn't like it. I know Kat from Cat Chats didn't like it, and I believe Ashley from Dumb Blonde Books didn't like it either. So I do want to read all of her backlist eventually, especially because I want to support a woman of color in the thriller genre, because that's not something that you see often. You don't often see people of color in this genre, especially in adult books. Maybe in YA, but not so much in adult. And this is one of her ones that I'm least interested in, just because this is like, I believe it's her first one, and people have said that this one's not as good. I bought this at the used bookstore for really cheap, and I think this is about a woman who has like a really perfect life, and then one day her son like disappears. But this book is not so much about figuring out where her son went or who kidnapped her son, but I think it's more about her marriage and like her husband cheating on her or something like that. So from this book, I'm taking the color scheme of like the black and the pink, and I'm doing Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This one definitely has more pink. Lock Every Door is another thriller. We have a lot of thrillers in a row in this little section, but this is actually one of my least favorite books that Riley Sager has published. I should have already put out a guide to Riley Sager, so if you want to check that out, I will link that as well. But I don't know, something about this just didn't perfectly work for me. This book follows Jules, and Jules just broke up with her boyfriend because I believe he was cheating on her, and she's kind of like in between places right now. But she finds this like listing or ad for her to basically be like an apartment sitter at this place called the Bartholomew, which is for like really rich people and like people who are retiring and stuff like that. But one of the apartments is empty, so they need someone to just watch it, because since it is such like a rich place, like they need to make sure like their assets are good. But there are some like weird rules. It says in here, no visitors, no night spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents. And there's some disappearances of some of the apartment sitters in the past and the present that start getting connected, and Jules is trying to figure out like, why does the Bartholomew have so many rules, like what's up with its residents, and why are these other apartment sitters disappearing. I liked the atmosphere of this book. I liked a lot of this book, but the end, there was an ending that I liked that was teased a lot throughout the book, and I really would have liked that, and then they kind of switched at the last moment to something else. It really felt like the first twist was like a super big red herring, and he just like threw this in at the last minute. Like it could have worked if he like planted seeds for it throughout the rest of the story, but for me it just didn't seem like he did that. So this is like my least favorite of his work, but I know it's a lot of people's favorite of his work, and it's still good. It just is not my favorite. And we're gonna be switching directions a lot, but I don't know, it's kind of hard for y'all to see, but there's a woman walking away right here. Like there's the door, and she's walking away, so this is her back and her foot's down here, so she's like turned walking, you know. And so I found another book with a woman walking away, and that is The Great Hunt by Wendy Higgins. Now this is a book that I've owned for a very, very long time, because I'm pretty sure I remember having this in my old house, which I moved to this house in my right before my freshman year of high school, and so I think that was like 2017, so I've had this book probably since 2016, if not earlier. I remember Wendy Higgins was pretty popular back when I bought this, but she's like one of those authors that kind of like died off. In this book, a strange beast starts killing people in like this fantasy world, and the king decides to host a competition of whoever can like kill the monster will be able to marry his daughter. And his daughter really does not want to get married at all, but this local hunter catches her eye, and neither of them are really like the marrying type, but they start to have like a little bit of like a romance. So it's giving, you know, fantasy romance vibes, and I just really like the aesthetics of this book. I don't know, something about the trees and the woman with the hair. Obviously I really haven't heard anybody talk about this in years, so I don't know why I have such a big interest in this still. And from this book, I'm going to be taking like these trees and foliage and going with The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And you can see the trees obviously in the back. This one has like dead trees. The trees for the most part are pretty, you know, leafy, but there are some ones around the edges in black that are just like dead trees. So that's why I'm going with The Year of the Witching. So The Year of the Witching is a book that I read, I think, in 2020. And I know it was like one of my favorite books of the year as well. I loved this book so much. It's about this girl, Emmanuel, and she lives kind of like in like this religious cult. It's really hard to place with this book. It's kind of like fantasy horror, then also with like religious horror. So it's like really hard to place, and it's also based off the Puritans. So the society that it takes place in is very like Puritans with their religious extremist views, but then also with like they have no water, the way that they dress, everything like that. So it's not modern day, but it's kind of like culty, but not in the modern sense that we use it normally for thrillers and horror. And Emmanuel was actually adopted by this woman, but she is basically like blasphemy in this community, like just her existing, because her mother had her with an outsider who's not from the community at all, and that is very much blasphemy. The women in this community need to be extremely devout and basically follow everything that's said by their husbands and also like the higher ups in the religion. There's like this forest on the edge of the community that they like don't go into at all because they're said to be like horror and they're not allowed to go in there, and it's like magic and like witches and stuff in there. So Emmanuel one day sneaks into there, and these witches give Emmanuel this diary of her dead mother. Then I decided to take the blood splatter. I don't know if you can see it. It's mostly on this side right here. There's some blood splatter, and I decided to take that, and I'm going to go with Hooked by Emily McIntyre. So you can see they both have blood splatter. This one, you can see it like basically all over. There's also like a kiss of blood, but there's like blood splatter, and then this one also has some blood splatter. And I like how in both these books the blood splatter is pretty light, so that's kind of why I chose these for this one. And Hooked I have not read yet. This is a romance that I recently bought. I don't know too much about this book, but I know it is a Peter Pan romance retelling, and I don't know who these are about. It says James and Wendy. I'm like, who's James? So I don't know who this is exactly a romance like between, but I'm excited to read it. I'm assuming it might be Hook, like Hook's name is James because Hooked, but I'm not sure. But either way, I'm really excited to get to this. Then this book, I decided to take like the clock element, like a circular numbers. I don't know if that makes sense. Like this next book does not have a clock on it, but it has numbers in a circular motion, and it actually also has blood on the cover. So that's really interesting. But that's Bird Box, so you can see what I'm saying. This is like a telephone, rotary phone, I guess. I don't know, is that what they're called? Rotary phones, right? And then this one is a clock. That just shows how young I am. A rotary phone, I know like all my friends who are like older than me are gonna be like, does she not know what a rotary phone is? But okay, it looks like a rotary phone. I think that's what it's called. But you can see, even though this one's a clock, this one's a rotary phone. It looks similar, and they both have blood on it. So I thought this was kind of a good match. Bird Box is another one that I haven't read. Bird Box, I know, is like basically about like this family, or I believe it might be just like a mother and her children. And in this world, there's like these monsters, and they can't look at them because if they look at them, then they'll like basically like die. I don't know if they get like paralyzed and the monsters just attack them or what, but I know they have to wear like blindfolds and stuff like that. And I have not seen the movie of this, but it is one that I want to see. It's kind of giving a Quiet Place vibes, which I love. I know Bird Box, I say, isn't as good, but the book is really short. I haven't read a Josh Malerman before, who is a pretty popular author, and I also want to watch the movie, so I do want to get to this one eventually. Probably won't be this year, but maybe next year. And for this next book, I think I really just connected them by like the color scheme of like white, black, and red. I know this one has a little bit of yellow, which the next one doesn't have, but like really the white, black with the red text, and that is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This is one that I'm super excited to get to, and I'm hoping to get to it within the next couple months because I really want to continue on in this series. But I actually started Corrupt last summer as an audiobook. I remember listening to it while working in my Barnes & Noble, that I used to work at, and I think it got checked back out because I had the audiobook on Hoopla, but I remember really liking it, and I want to continue on with reading it. I'm probably going to start over. I can't even give y'all like a good synopsis about what this book is about, but it's just a romance, and there are 4 guys in this group that are like older than our main character. I think they are like just coming out of college, and our main character is in her senior year of high school, I'm pretty sure, and they're very rich and like uppity, and like kind of like the people that everybody knows in the town. They're very popular, but they're also very mean and kind of cruel. She kind of has an interest in one of these guys, but that is actually her boyfriend's older brother, and his name is Michael Christ. And that's really all that I can say. Like, I don't, even though I read like a good like third of this book, like it's just hard to summarize. So yeah, but I really want to get back to this book. To recap, we had The House in the Cerulean Sea to Malibu Rising, then Malibu Rising to The Night Swim to Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier, Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier to Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager to The Great Hunt, The Great Hunt to The Year of the Witching, The Year of the Witching to Hooked, Hooked by Emily McIntyre to Bird Box by Josh Malerman, and Bird Box by Josh Malerman to Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. So somehow we got from this really bright, colorful cartoon cover to a black and white book with a little bit of red and skulls. So yeah, I don't know how I was able to do this, but this is a book I'm really excited to read, and this is a book that I really loved, and they're both from authors that I really enjoy. So yeah, that's all that I have for this video today. So I'm going to tag some people. I'm going to tag Beth from Beth's All Booked. I'm going to tag Haley Hughes. I'm going to tag Ashley from Dumb Blonde Books. I also want to tag Carol from Carol Marie Reads, Naima from Naima Reads, and Quinn Hale. So those are all the people that I'm tagging. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And for the emoji today, I'm going to do like obviously like the phone emoji, because what else would you do? So make sure to leave that down below if you made it to the end of this video. But that's all that I have for this video today, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye everybody. Trying to look like you winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in. Yeah. You got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't add me, cause baby, I'm on